I'm sure all of you know who the panelists are. They need no introduction whatsoever. They are a name to reckon with in our maritime industry, the Indian maritime industry and the international maritime industry. Our sailing seafarers, our learned moderators, all of you know how deep is the understanding of Captain Yadav and Mr. Rai of the maritime industry. I welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be part of this seminar or webinar, and which is so ably put together by Editor-in-Chief of Maritime Destination, Mr. Gagan Pandey. The theme of this webinar is connecting sea and shore. Any successful sea voyage can only be accomplished if there is a proper sync between the sailing staff and the shore staff. The seafarers have limited resources available on board, and it is up to the shore staff to supplement these resources in a timely and effective manner. As you all know, the maritime industry is the mother industry. In other words, every industry is dependent on the maritime industry so that their transactions are completed in a profitable and a timely manner. The reason for this is very simple, that the earth is over 70% water, and the maritime industry provides for over 90% of world trade. It also provides a very cost-effective transport of goods in a very environmentally friendly manner. So we should be all proud of that. The seafarers, for their part, are really the backbone of the maritime industry. The MLC Convention does provide the seafarers a platform and a route to voice their personal grievances. But is this platform being truly used in the spirit it was laid down in? How are the other grievances being addressed, which do not fall under the gamut of the MLC? Does mutual respect exist between the sailing and the shore staff? Does each understand the burden of responsibility on others' shoulders? Are seafarers using the correct means and modes to voice their concerns? Is the shore staff able to address these concerns in a timely and mutually acceptable manner? Above all, does a disconnect exist between the ship and the shore staff? This is what we will find out today. These are some of the questions we will seek to discuss in today's webinar. To this extent, we will first hear from the sailing staff, and then our learned moderators will seek the views of our esteemed panelists. Maritime Destination, on their part, is going to prepare a paper covering the discussions on this webinar and share this paper with the industry through the various associations. The whole idea is whether the sea and shore can exist as one unit rather than being known as two sides of the same coin. Before I invite Captain Sengar to speak, I would just like to request you again, please keep yourself muted if you're not speaking. You can keep your video on, but if we see that the connections or, it is a little distorted, then we will ask you to put off your videos as well. You can put on your video when you start to speak. Thank you very much for this, and over to Captain Sengar. Please unmute yourself, sir, and we are waiting to hear from you. Captain Sengar. Captain Sengar? Captain Sengar, you are still unmuted. Captain Sengar, you have not been able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, now I can. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Now it's clear.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you, sir. Sir, I've been told to give my views, so let me put forward certain things. The first thing I would like to state, sir, is that almost with all the upcoming regulations, it is becoming very impractical to follow it, and mainly the commercial pressure is such that almost all the time master is on the edge of safety. What to call, whom to call, when to call, and we are on a 24 hours, update that we have to give to the company. That is also causing us a lot of, it is affecting our rest hours also. And due to the lack of support that we are getting from office, even the boarding agents have become more powerful than the captain now. That is what we have. Although so many things are there, if a lot of ifs and buts are there, but this is what we are feeling, And another thing is that the minimum stores are being supplied, just to keep barely the propeller running. That is another, it is to our disadvantage, and we are supposed to just run the ship somehow or the other. We are asked so many questions, but we don't get any solution for it. So all the thing is, if some problem we land up, all is we have to do is we have to keep giving updates every 5 minutes, which becomes very difficult for a master to, work in such cases. And although a lot of conventions are in place, but I think IMO has to somewhere come up with something, because we are getting harassed by the authorities everywhere, wherever we go. We are the ship staff is almost like a second-class citizen now. It has become, and after this pandemic, it has things are getting more bad.
Yeah.
And more or less, we are like at times we have become criminal only. Another thing is we can't go
Deepu.
ashore anywhere. This is also a problem. And the shorely problem has always been there, sir. When we initially joined the Merchant Navy, we were always saying, join the Merchant Navy and see the world. But sir, we haven't been able to see the world since last few years, only we see the world through the porthole. And this daily reporting with the office is also becoming, a bit too much, too much of interference. Like I said, it's getting too much nowadays. And another thing is that we are having a lot of untrained staff on board. Maybe it's not their fault, the only reason is that how they train and come. Whenever you, and what we get from the office is always that you train them. That is what we are always told, We are sending, if there is something wrong with the staff, we are always told that you train them. But it becomes too difficult, There's the way the institutes also train them, they always say, "Humne to aise hi karke aaya hai, humko to bas certificate mila hai." These are the things that a lot of things are to be. We have to check on this. Stores, spares available is of a very cheap quality that we are getting nowadays, and it is even small companies, bigger companies, everywhere the same situation is there, sir. Now, if you see that, I would like to say that I almost worked on 50 vessels as master up till now. And I'll be completing, I think another 1 year or so, I'll be quitting sea very soon. So whatever I have learned in these years, that I find that things have been deteriorating only, everywhere. Although a lot of modernization has done, no problem in that. But a lot of things that have happened. See the way the accidents are happening, in port, in berth. It never used to happen so much, what it is happening now. It's all mainly due to the commercial pressure that we are getting. And another thing I would like to bring to your notice is the salary part, From 2017, I left foreign companies and I have been sailing as a master in Indian companies. We found a lot of problem in getting the salary. In one of the companies, many of the officers were not paid salary. Even I was also not paid salary. I approached the shipping master. I approached DG Shipping. A lot of due was there. It took me almost 1.5 years to get my salary back. I approached the MUI also. nobody helped me, sir. It is ultimately, finally, through some of my sources, through Ministry of Shipping, I approached, and that is how I could get my salary. And after getting my salary, after another 1 year, I got a call from Shipping Master saying that you please come and clear your doubts, whatever is there. So I informed that, no, sir, I have already received my salary. Thank you very much. So these are the things, and still many of the seafarers have not received from there. It's only I and few. And the another thing is that when I wanted to support those seafarers, nobody came to me, came up with me. The reason is what they thought that they will lose their jobs. If they will make a complaint, they will lose their job. This is another thing, we are always being blackmailed of. If anything you do, you lose your job. But so far, I'm still in my job with everything, with all and I have no complaints whatsoever. The sea has given me a lot. And whatever I am, it's due to the sea. That's all I wanted to tell you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sengar. Thank you. Very clear and I would say very hitting statements. And I'm sure it will be addressed during the course of this seminar. I'm sure the moderators are making notes. And to take this forward, can I invite Mr. Bharat Malhotra, the Sailing Chief Officer, who is with us today, to please come and share your thought. Please unmute yourself, Bharat. Thank you so much.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to all. I am currently sailing as Chief Officer from last 4 years. But many people say that million reasons to love sea as someone spent their entire life by the sea. I can easily see how that could be there. The sea has way of enhances capturing our imagination, integrating with us mysteries. A few points I want to share that it is very unpleasant that interaction between seafarers on board the company ashore is very limited. When we to join the ships, they always contact us in and everything, night and day also. Sir, you please join, sir, you please join. But on the day when we need sign off, they did not respond to our mails also, and they did not respond to our communication also. If in emergency also, like many people having like pandemic, they have emergencies also, that can be reasonable. But still, when we are joining, they answer our questions very well. And when we are on board and when we are want to sign off, answer is comparatively very low. And second point is like voyages. As communication has increased, mostly paperwork has increased. Now every company is asking each and every documents by scanning, and captain please send this, and everybody staff please sends all documents. They have their documents like ship plans also and everything they have on their office, but still they want everybody ship staff to be sent. Like if they don't want to search or like shipping people are always on your board, they can send very easily. And second thing, like communication has, it's a very good thing on the seafarer part that we are connecting to our family and everything. But as communication is increased, they don't think that we have also our rest hours like a Sunday or a holiday. Like on mostly I saw mostly important items comes on Sunday only. Please clarify this and please do things that they have their Sunday on there at home, but on board we don't have Sundays. So that is my main concern. Like holiday, everything is like holiday at home, at stay, at land. They enjoy their festivals. But at our ships, oh sir, you lack your experience. You don't like in mixed crew. We don't enjoy our Christmas, Diwali, and festivals. But in Indians, we enjoy our festivals at home. But on board, there is no festivals, and mostly work comes on Sunday and holidays only, as my experience. And then that Captain Sir has told trainings, yes, training of cadets. Mostly now rules are coming that trainees are not allowed to go somewhere else or like an enclosed space or a tank inspection or something. I true, it is danger to their life, but how they will learn also. Like mostly my company, they say cadets and trainees are not allowed in tanks or like enclosed space. Like I think senior cadets can allow. Like now it is they are not allowed. So how they will learn when they will become as a third officer or second officer or a mate? When their training is lack of communication and lack of paperwork. All paperwork we are doing, but training is still lacking. In same condition, communication demands, shore and staff also demand considerable amount of documents, like all documents, and lack of understanding of working environment on board vessels also. Like mostly we have a different culture and we celebrate our things, but as staffs, efficient operation only they want, and that proper work and no rest hours. Like rest hour many times we are not complying with. Mostly we are not complying. But as per company say that please update your rest hours and comply with them, and then you say they already know that we are not complying, and if we show the deficiency, it will harm like an NC or something. But still we have to show on our documents and communication that rest hour is compliant. Mostly seafarers are worried about blames. Mostly there should be the no blame policy in the minor event or deficiency is there. Like people are strange that they will blame us. Like something has done wrong, it will be blamed to my job or it will be blamed to my like reputation. So mostly people try to hide something. So that should be avoided. Okay, mistake happens with everybody, but training is different, but blaming is different. Like mostly cadets are like affair, oh, blame or my job will be lost. And there should be checklist should be specified. Now checklist is increasing every day. Documentation, communication is easy. Each and every day we have to send photos of every work. I think nowadays I'm thinking we should get a one photographer on board because communication is so cheap. They want everything photos. You work photo, you sleep photos. Anything new has been installed, please send photos. Okay, they have done, but photos is increasing so much that on rest hour also we are preparing our slides and PPT for to send to photos. And if we did not send, suddenly message come, kindly gentle reminder of your photos. And secondly, improve our mutual understanding of seafarer and shore staff also. When they are personally, I believe when they were sailing, they also has gone through same things also. And when they are on shore, typically thinking has changed. Everybody is working 24/7 on boards. But at home, when we call them or something is happened, sir, we are busy or we are at rest times. But on boards, communication is free. Anybody can call every time, and all mails can be sent. And mostly mails, it is that reply within a few hours. Like we are busy or some maneuvering is going on, some important operation is going on, but that work should be done before if the any important work is going on. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malhotra. I'm sure the moderators have noted down again your concerns, and we will wait for our panelists to respond to them. May I request Mr. Ashish Singh, second officer, sailing second officer, to please come up and speak.
Yes, a very good evening, sir. Good evening, respected chief guest, our moderators and our panelists and all our seafarers, sir. My name is Ashish Singh and I'm second officer working on offshore vessels. Now, sir, today I am here to keep some major issues we seafarers experience, out of which the first key point I would like to highlight is the non-payment of the wages. So that's very serious problem in this industry now, in offshore industry especially. So in spite of working on board, living hard life away from family, friends, social life, we don't get paid much, and most of the time we don't even get salaries. And after sign off, we have to run from months and months. We have to run from shipping companies to shipping master's office, and from shipping master's office to various union. And sometimes we don't even get our wages after running so much because we have to sail further also for our bread and butter. So that's how we see seafarers who find their dream jobs, which was very lucrative, globe-trotting lifestyle and adventurous working environment. All these things seems to be in dark, because if you don't get the salary, then globe-trotting lifestyle and adventurous working environment seems to be nullified. So, and not only this, because most of the time and most of the seafarers, they are the loan earning member in the family. So it makes particularly tough in those situations. The second point I would like to highlight is the substandard food conditions. Insufficient food is provided, and it appears in some cases the company thinks of this expense as an unnecessary wasteful expenditures, and the provisions only enough for seafarers where survival is provided. So, third but not least, substandard living conditions. So it is common in offshore vessels to find bed bugs, torn sofas, defective fridges, defective and insufficient washing machines, and little and insufficient entertainment systems. And all in all, seafarers are treated that they are machines who have been bought for the sole purpose of being productive for the company. And not only this, we are being treated like we are not even being treated like we are living and breathing humans. So this is what I just want to say. And it was a huge privilege to be able to present our these issue in an esteemed forum like this. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ashish. That was very precise, and I'm sure it will be looked into.
Yes, sir.
Can I request Sailing Third Officer, Ms. Anshu Priya, to please address us? Anshu?
Respected sir, good evening. My name is Anshu Priya. My rank is third officer. I have sailed on tanker and bulk carrier vessel. Today I am very glad that I have get this opportunity to join this webinar. As per my sea career experience so far, as a seafarer, so many problems we have to face both on ashore or at sea. Some important issue which I really want to bring in front of you through this first ever webinar on connecting sea and shore. I would like to highlight on my first point, contract period should be shorter. No one wants to stay away from his and his loved ones for a long time. Many companies have come up with shorter contract for their crew, but they are still not available for all ranks and departments. Short-term contract would motivate them to go the sea frequently and also make them more enthusiastic about their work. And second points I would like to highlight, preference in shore work, shore job opportunity for lady seafarers and its expansion. And third, which is more important as per my experience, I would like to highlight reduce paperwork, mostly at junior level along with the routine responsibility. We are supposed to take care of a heap of paperwork. This additional duty has become burden on seafarers. This increasing amount of paperwork has not only added stress on seafarers but also made them less focused on their core duties. And fourth point is that every time we have to wait long time for joining a ship. It is very difficult in ship joining due to long wait time. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshu. I'm sure we will get a good response to your concerns. May I now request able seaman, Mr. V. Rajchandran, to please come up and voice his concerns or his views. Mr. Rajchandran.
Sir, can you hear me? Very warm wishes to all dignitaries who are participating in this webinar. And I'm very thankful to maritime distress, maritime destination, the magazine publishers, to giving me the opportunity to participate with all these dignitaries in this platform. Myself, I am Rajachandran, born able seaman, and I'm proud to be a seafarer. Seafaring is a very interesting job and challenging too, and it is also important in society. There are so many problems facing seafarers during these pandemic situations. Seafaring, all during this pandemic situation, sea transport is underway continuously, and seafarers are there working and working restless day and night. Because of that, United Nations declared seafarers as a key worker, or you can say frontline workers. But still, even though we are a frontline workers, I think we are not getting that much benefits. My point is COVID vaccination. In this time, during this pandemic time, the crew change was very difficult. How still that is going on because of this COVID vaccination. Government should give seafarers vaccination on priority basis. Then only people can join on time on board ship. Otherwise, people are going to lose their jobs. This is the one point. And the other thing is the tenure. Rating, especially for rating, the contract is 8 to 10 months. It's too long, and people want to reduce that because people need to work peacefully, mentally, physically, healthy. So people are this much 9 to 10 months away from family. So that is affecting their mind and physically accordingly. So this should be considered or implemented. And another thing, I think seafarers not getting pension. Seafarers like public servant, you can say like public servant. They are giving a financial support to government. So after retirement, seafarers nothing there. एक बार रिटायर होने के बाद सीमन लोगों को सीफारों को कुछ नहीं मिलता. जिंदगी भर काम करके दरिया में काम करके लोग कमा के फैमिली के लिए सोसाइटी के लिए not only for family we are earning for society only. We are doing so many contribution. We are doing so many contributions to society. So of course seafarers should get pension. So this point also, this should be considerable, and this has to bring in notice of government. And I think that's all from my side. And I'm thanks to Maritime Destination for adding me in this webinar. And thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Rajachandran. We're going to deviate slightly from our agenda. And now I'm going to ask and request Captain Yadav to take over and pose a few questions and get the viewpoint of our panelists on the basis of what they've heard so far. Over to you, Captain Yadav.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Mani. I thought it is going to be very smooth affair doing the moderation in this seminar, but I can see it's really tough task, but doesn't matter. Let me take one item at a time. First thing, I will request Second Officer Ashish Singh to please clarify for our understanding, because probably that's the maximum items that I have noted down. Is it only in the offshore sector, the conditions that you have described? That is the OSVs, particularly with respect to the living conditions and also with respect to the payment of wages. So these are the two main items that you highlighted. Other than the prestige, of course, there many things may be common. But I would like you to clarify this part first, whether you are only referring to the offshore sector, or is it also related to, because before I go and put the questions to our esteemed panelists, or this particular statement was only related to
A very good evening, sir. As far as to my concern and to my experience, and to with a very little experience, I am only referring this to the offshore field. Like, since after getting my COC, I am being sailing on the offshore vessels. So this problem was pertaining to offshore industries, the living conditions, the wages part, the the food conditions, substandard living conditions, substandard food conditions. It's pertaining to offshore industry, offshore vessels.
Captain Yadav, can I suggest you, can you also ask, please, is it the Indian flag vessel, or they're talking about foreign flag or foreign chartered or employed vessels?
I will answer.
Sure, sir. I'm talking about Indian flags.
Okay, I don't have actual experience in the offshore sector, but to whatever that we had known about, because some of these things came as a big surprise. But what we had known about is that the wages in the offshore sectors are substantially high, and because of that, they have to calculate. Normally people talk about package per annum or so many dollars per month. I believe in offshore sector they calculate per day because the figure is so high. Is that correct?
So you're asking me, sir?
Yes. Yes.
So it was, once upon a time we used to hear these things. We used to get India, but nowadays, if reality check is done, at least from since 2016, I have never seen these things. Sir. It's like, hardly we get wages, and we, of course, we get wages in some companies, but then the wages are very reduced. There was a time we used to listen that per day basis we used to get, like, a second mate used to get 4,000 rupees per day or 3,000 rupees per day. So it's only, we used to hear this, we used to listen this once upon a time, but the reality check, we don't get this much now.
Okay, and just one more very small clarification from you about the substandard food. I thought it is some 405 rupees per day per person, which is paid as a fixed allowance to the people. And if they spend anything less than that, that they can save that money. Is that correct?
Sir, I'm not very sure about the exact figure 405, but yes, what food we get, the quality of food is not substantial, because it's like being budget. There are eyes, there are onboard people, there are people on board who are, they report, yes, he has done this much, he is eating this much. There are people on board who keeps reporting, companies also. And I have already mentioned, like, what food they give, they think that the expenditure on the food is a wasteful thing, and hardly just for the survival, for just only for the survival, bare food we get.
Okay. Now let me see whom I can address this particular section regarding the offshore sector. And Captain Ashok Kumar, would you like to take this? Or Mr. Devli?
What, you want me to respond to him?
No, see, he has given such long list of various things which pertain primarily to the offshore sector, and that's why we started with that part first. That the items that he has pointed out. I mean, I don't know how to really establish that directly with and not having any direct connections with the offshore sector.
Okay, so let me interrupt you. I don't for a moment wish to believe that what he's saying is incorrect. Okay, maybe he may be right. I mean, why will somebody lie? I don't think Mr. Ashish is looking for some glory in the sun to say it. So I don't think there is anything wrong in what he's saying. But I don't know how else you want me to respond. I mean, he probably as much as in life, I think when I also worked, not necessarily I always got good bosses. we talk about its bad things that he has faced, and I'm truly sorry that if he, didn't get enough food or his wages was delayed, etc. I don't think anybody can, offering any can console him, because that is his personal. This is his own personal hurt. How can anybody console him? So I don't think I have anything to say to him. All that I'm saying is it is unfortunate that this has happened. And perhaps what we should all look at is how would we prevent this from happening in the future? I think that is what we should try and concentrate on. That, perhaps if I was in his place and I felt that my salaries were not being paid, this is something that between Iswan, Chirag Bari and me, we have regularly been maintaining that it has always foxed me as to why a seafarer stays on board a vessel when his salary is not paid. And there seems to be some kind of a misconception that the person, if he does not remain on board, he loses the lien over the wage, which is, all of us know that is not true. But these things happen ashore also. And I can tell you of large companies, senior people amongst us sitting in this very room today who have not received salaries. And, this is human nature. But the fact of life is that we have to move on. So my only suggestion to him is he's young. Whatever experience you have gone through, let it be a learning for you. Pass this learning to the others. Give the others the confidence that when you face these kind of bad days, you do not necessarily need to continue working with that company. Your wage with that company, your lien over that wage remains regardless, Ashish. Whether you're in India, whether you're here, or whether you're anywhere else, there is no need for you to sail on board the ship. And the second most important point is, unlike somebody like me who's working ashore, your wage takes first priority over banking dues. I'm sure you're aware of that. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Whereas if Captain Yadav was to not get his salary, no offense meant to him, or if I was not to get my salary, we would have to stand in line like any other creditor. So my suggestion to you would be, let us look at this positively. So to recap, no, nobody can understand your pain. It's very easy for us to say, oh, I understand your pain. No, we cannot. At least I cannot, because I didn't go through what you went. But I would entreat that whatever difficulty you went through should be a learning for us. And maybe at the end of this whole conversation, we should be able to come up with some kind of a process by which we can ensure that from tomorrow, at least, this kind of a difficulty faced by a seafarer is addressed better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Devlip. Thank you, Ashish. Now I'll just request Mr. Amar Singh Thakur to just give some, assurance or something to look into the issues that have been pointed out.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Captain Yadav. First of all, seafarer should know the rights of his entitlement. As per MLC 2006, it is only clearly mentioned, if you are not getting wages within 1 month or 2 months, they can revoke the social security, 4-month wages. That is always there. So once they are complaining to us, we are telling them to you always revoke the social security. So they will get the wages. If they are not getting wages, then we can ask the company, and then we are putting the company into the shipping master and we are dealing with that. Now regarding the messing food, in the MA agreement, it is clearly mentioned there, and the MENO is also healthy food to be given. That is company to company. But there are seafarers, they want own messing, which have started, some companies started, so which we have stopped this time. The company should provide healthy food and nutrient food. Now it depends on the captain also, it went to the staff. There will be mess committee on board ship. Can very well get, they can supervise everything. They can supervise, they can check the food. They can easily eat a good and healthy food. That is up to their management. But company should provide everything. That is company duty. And master should make sure that food should be not substantial, it should be good food and nutrient.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Thakur. I think I will invite Captain Sengar before I take his questions to the panelists. I think most likely Captain Bhasin should be, I can call him to respond to him. But before that, Captain Sengar, one small question only from my side.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, you listed out a lot of things. You're probably sailing for last so many years, and you said how many ships you said as master?
Almost 50 vessels, sir.
Okay. Now, with all of the other things that you pointed out, there must be some good things also for you to continue
Yes.
and stay for that long.
Why not?
So,
Definitely.
I thought you will probably throw some light on that part as well, because everything, it can't be so
Because
bad.
a very limited time was given to me. So in that,
Yeah, no.
definitely, why not? Good. I maintain a very good standard, and I have sailed with MSC also. Almost, I have done 12 ships as a master with MSC, and that time the MSC standard was very good. I don't know how it is now, but we really had a very good standard that time. That time we never paid for. Every time I used to join the vessel, my wife used to come before signing off, and everything was paid by the company, to and fro. But now it is, I think now it has been stopped. So a lot of good things. I had a very good life. That is the reason why from tankers I shifted to container vessel, because I wanted to enjoy a good life also, see the different ports, and that was possible in MSC.
Okay, nice. I think Captain Bhasin is already smiling. See, now he's pointed out that till now everything was very good. Now you have to sustain that.
Thank you, Captain Yadav. Thank you, Captain Sengar. Before I start, I would like to thank Mr. Gagan, Captain Manny, to come out with such a good concept. They started with honoring the authors, and now they are connecting, making a kind of a series of these webinars where the seafarers get to speak their mind. So first of all, I would like to congratulate both of them, and of course the panelists and our moderators. Coming back, thank you, Captain Sengar. You said you shifted to MSC because you wanted to enjoy the life. So the standards have gone much higher now. I assure you of that. This is something, today it is not like we are here and the seafarer is looking for a job. We are reaching out to the seafarer. It is like a bonding. And I don't speak for MSC alone. Here when I stand, I speak for all shipping companies. It is like reaching out, shaking hand and walking together. That is a concept in all the companies. So it has to be a relationship. It has to be a partnership. Then only you can proceed further. There's the one part. Captain Sengar did mention, I have noted down here, though Captain Mahesh has not said that point, but yes, you mentioned paperwork. Yes, I totally agree. Paperwork has increased tremendously on the ships as well as the shore. It's a fact of it. One has to face it, one has to adopt to it. As we run the ship, there are changes. That's all I can say about this thing, sir. We have people from classification societies, we have people from administration, people from various ship owners, associations, seafarers. It is a combined thing, but I will say we have to adapt to it. That's all I can say about the paperwork. Thank you.
Captain Bhasin, I'm right here. Can I supplement what Sengar said? What is your reaction that the impression that more and more control is being taken by the officers today rather than depending or leaving it to the captains?
I would put it in a different perspective. You see, technology has been improvised on many ships across the world. I mean, you are from IMEI, sir. Your own organization has been tying up where you are providing a on-board sensor to find out the various parameters of the machineries, which the owner or the ship manager sitting back can easily see. And that is the latest concept. These are the latest technology which have been there. And this will go on. This will go on. People are talking about autonomous ships. I'm sure it may not happen fully in our lifetime. So these are the changes. That's what I mentioned before also. So we need to adopt to the changes. I don't see it that the owners have taken over everything. Remember, combined force of the people on the ship is much, much more than us sitting ashore, sir. They are the first person on board, sir. When there's an issue, when there's a problem, they are our main guys who see and who tell us. And other point which I said to you about the machinery and the technology, which is being implemented. Yes.
Thanks, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Captain Bhasin. Now I think I'll invite our Chief Officer Bharat Malhotra. I just noted down 2-3 special points over here out of what he communicated. One was quite an interesting one about the photographs. You said before we do anything, before we fix anything, before we put anything in place, the shore offices, they require photograph of all that. I don't you think it is actually originating out of the social media before people do anything, like Instagram or WhatsApp or anything where the photographs are going all over the place. So isn't it interconnected and due to the improvement in communications, or is it you feel there is some little difference in the attitude?
So for our family and thing, it is very good. And for work purpose, like my concern is that they want same paperwork and same photographs on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and on a quarterly basis. So my question is that either they can have weekly, they can have monthly, or they can have quarterly. Same thing we have to prepare for 3 to 4 times, and we have to sit and we have to make a good photographs on a weekly. Some say that every Sunday you have to send the weekly photographs. Okay, we agree. Then why monthly is required? That is the same thing only. Same copy paste we do at monthly also. And thirdly, they want quarterly photos also, like full vessel quarterly photos. And why we are sending weekly and monthly?
Okay. In addition to that, you mentioned something about training. That the untrained people are sent on the ship, and probably we have to keep training them for various things.
Not send on ships. We are not able to training them. Like some rules and regulations are there. Like trainees are not allowed to do this job. Okay, I agree. Some because of list of life, but we have to train them properly, sir. Like I have one experience. Cadets are not allowed to go into enclosed space. Okay, they are not allowed because safety is involved. But can be senior cadets can be allowed, like after 12 months or after 15 months. Straightly it is that cadets are not allowed to enter in any risk involving. And how they will learn and how they will become a good officer at third officer. Then third officer, when they become captain, will say, who was your chief officer? Who trained you? Because we are bound with the regulation that cadets are not allowed to train.
Okay. I think I will request Captain Sankalp Shukla from Bernard Schulte to please take on with this, the training part of it in particular.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me over here for this seminar. I thank Gagan. I thank all the dignitaries here. But let me first start by thanking all our lovely seafarers who are here. I believe by starting anything that I start by thanking seafarers, because it is the kind of work that they're doing, especially during this COVID time, getting us essential service. We need to remember and respect what they are doing, not only as a shipping community, but as a world at large. Yes, that's why they are designated as essential workers. A lot of us sitting here have worked towards that, and even the Indian government has recognized them as essential workers. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the immense work that you all do and to take the world economy forward. Now, coming back to training, see, the reason, Bharat, the reason that if you remember earlier on, these regulations were not there, that, cadets are not permitted to go inside tanks or not allowed to work aloft. How regulations actually emerge is because of past incidents. And we've had numerous incidents on multiple ships where we've seen cadets losing their lives during doing tank entries and things like that. While saying that, again, you ask, yes, then people ask, where is the practical training coming in? What happens is they understudy the people who are actually doing it, maybe not by actually going inside, but seeing what safety protocols are being followed, seeing what checklists are not meant for actually ticking, but the checklists are actually being followed and how it actually works. And subsequently, being an officer, again, being an officer does not mean that, okay, he's become an officer, let's send him all, let him be a team leader to enter a tank. No, when he starts off as a third officer or as a fourth engineer, he's accompanied by somebody senior, like a chief officer takes him. But again, as far as regulation comes, it is all because of past incidents that have taken place, and they are grave incidents where people have lost their lives, and the number of incidents. Training Assure, I can tell you again, being the chairman of FOSMA, we've got two of our institutes. We work very closely with MASA, who've got their institutes. We also work with the other institutes where we a couple of years back, we had something known as an internal benchmarking or whatever we did. There is a lot of effort that is being taken, that whatever best training can be provided ashore is being given. There are more simulator-based training. Moreover, a lot of companies, standard companies, despite them being our seafarers being trained in STCW, holding certificates of competency, have in-house training, again, simulator-based training, value-added training, so that we send a person as prepared as possible on board the ship. While saying that, I am a person who very firmly believes that whatever training can be carried out on board the ship can never be substituted ashore. There are certain kind of training, practical training, that can only be carried out on board the ship. And as historically, our industry is such where we have always, whether I was a cadet or whether I was a junior officer, my senior officers trained me for the job that I was going to take over later on. So that training will continue being the focus on board the ship. And that is not something that we can take away from the vessel. So I'm sorry that, yes, there is, I know there is a lot of paperwork today. I understand where you come from. I like that, I like that thing that you brought up, that there should be a photographer on board the ship. I completely understand. Just imagine on the crew list, you've got so-and-so and he's a ship's photographer. On that was on a lighter note. But again, what is happening is we have a lot of people who come ashore, forgetting what experiences they had faced on board the ship. A lot of companies, in fact, have a mentoring program for the superintendents where they say that, try and reduce as much paperwork as possible, try and reduce communication with the ship as much as possible. Again, what Captain Bhasin said, I would support him over there. There's a lot of automation that is taking place currently. There are sensors being fitted where there's real-time information coming to the office, not requiring that much communication from the office. So it's all work in progress. But this is what my answer to your question is. Thank you.
Sir, one thing. So mostly photograph depends on person to person and superintendent to superintendent also. That is my concern. That company should make should be sent on a weekly purpose. Photograph should be on monthly. Like every different superintendent we have a different rule. Some superintendents say, okay, daily also I want. That is my purpose, sir. That company should make a standard format. Okay, photographs required. It is required every Sunday or every Monday.
Yes, Mr. Bharat, that's what I acknowledge that. That's what I said. A lot of people, once they come ashore, they forget the difficulties that they go on board, what they faced on board the ship. And a lot of companies have this transition program.
Sir, I'm not audible. Voice is not coming.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Captain Shukla. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, coming back to what Bharat, a lot of companies have this transition program for people who are coming from board the ship, coming as superintendents ashore. There is a transition program where they are being mentored to reduce the communication. Yeah. There are standard processes that companies are having.
Meeting is not.
Yep.
Yeah, is that okay? Should I go to the next one now? All right. Miss third officer, Miss Anshu Priya, she's pointed out primarily two issues. One is the duration of the contract period, and the other one was about the short job opportunities, if I am right, for the women seafarers. So, who would like to take on that part about the duration of the contract, Captain? Or let me see if anybody else is there. Dr. Bhavnani, you are here? Mr. Manish Pradhan?
Dr. Bhavnani is here. He'll take on.
Good afternoon.
Okay, okay.
Dr. Bhavnani?
Would you, okay, Dr. Bhavnani is there, yeah.
I think he's maybe a little busy. Manish, you can take on. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So first of all, again, thanks to everybody. Thanks, Captain Maini, Captain Yadav, and Gagan for arranging for this and having me with you all. Coming straight to the point of shorter contracts, well, I would definitely agree that it's tiring, it's a tough job, but also look at the commercials at the other end. There are people who are knocking on the doors of Indians to take away our berths basis the fact that they can serve on board longer time. Don't forget that the industry has been reeling under a lot of pressure for many years now. I think ever since 2008, it's been kind of a spiraling down. There are flickers. Yes, I can say the container trade is doing well today. The bulk is kind of picking up and showing some recovery. But nonetheless, there are people, other nationalities, if I can name a few, Vietnam, even Philippines for that matter, China, they're ready to do a longer contract. So it's more a commercial decision which is forced upon us by owners. You know, in the commercial sense, if you want to be there, you want to be competitive, then you have to match up in terms of it should make business sense. There was a time when the Indians, I think if you go back in time when Captain Yadav and Captain Maini were sailing, there's very few jobs for Indians. And we knocked over the Europeans and the Japanese only by virtue of the fact that we were ready to do a good job and we were ready to stay on longer at lesser money. That's how the Indians replaced the other nationalities. And now, as we are amongst the well-paid people, we are being pushed over. And trust me, I would feel that many of you would agree that we are under threat. So till such time that we see better days, I think it will be good to hold on. Completely agree that it's a tiring job and it would be good to see lower contract periods. But I think we just need to wait on a little further.
Thank you. I think thanks.
Sir, if you mind, if I interrupt for a minute, I'll let you know.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Just let me complete this particular thing.
Okay.
Dr. Sanjay Bhavnani, can you answer this question regarding the lack of short job opportunities for women seafarers?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I'll do that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, first of all, my congratulations to the organizers, Mr. Gagan Pandey, for coming out with such a novel concept of bridging the gap between the ship and the shore. And I think this is indeed an opportunity to understand and communicate better the overall thinking and the perceptions which exist between the sailing staff and the shore staff, and to bridge them in whatever manner they can be done best. I think at the onset, it's very important, and I would like to assure that all the seafarers that their contribution and efforts which have been put in to keep the global fleet running is very much recognized and understood. The industry is not only grateful, but very proud of each and every Indian seafarer, either present here or not. Can we please give them a very big hand for this particular achievement? Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Thank you very much. Now, of course, as has been stated earlier on also, I think Sankalp mentioned it during his talk. I think all representations which are there, which are being made to the government authorities as well as other decision-making powers which are there, they are all being done to highlight and to make them understand the immense contribution which is being provided by the seafarers in keeping the world trade running. The problem here is the awareness of the non-shipping world towards shipping, which continues. In fact, this has been a problem since the last so many years, in fact, decades. And while as it has reduced over the last few years, I would say, but still there is a long way to go. But nevertheless, I think as an industry as a whole, I think as Captain Bhasin also stated very correctly, that the whole industry is together in trying to highlight what the seafarers have done and what they can do more, and people should stand up and recognize all their efforts. And I'm sure in the times to come, this thing will change, and the much required recognition of the seafarers towards keeping the industry wheels running would be better and better felt and identified. Now, coming to the very specific aspect of the shore job, I think shore jobs, the world fleet has increased over the last so many years, at least, if not more. And that basically requires more and more people to manage the vessels from the shore side. We must recognize that ship management is an activity which can only be done by people who have got experience out at sea. A lot of companies, when they were not able to get ex-seafarers, they tried a lot of experiments in getting people who did not have experience out at sea. But I can tell you that that has not really worked. Today, when a master or a chief engineer calls up from the ship onto the office, it is expected that the person sitting on the office side should be able to understand their concerns and be able to provide them the best possible solution, which is only possible if he's got a first-hand experience. Now, so shore job opportunities are, of course, they have been increasing, and they will continue to increase as the global fleet is going to increase more and more. Indians have done very well. Indians have proved their versatility, their utility, their functionality in not only working out at sea in a very effective manner, but also working on shore in truly a manner in which they can bring the commercial and the technical aspects in a congruent way. Now, the women seafarers, I'm sure, from my personal experience in our company and what I hear from the other industry, the women seafarers have been doing very well. The numbers in India are relatively limited, but I know for sure that there are at least some women seafarers who have started working ashore and they are doing very well. And there are many women seafarers who are sailing out at sea and doing much better than what their male counterparts are. I think we are just on the cusp of seeing an explosion in this regard. Maybe if we were to talk about this a couple of years down the line or just a few years down the line, probably we may be talking about why are the males being replaced by the women seafarers. Now, I think the women seafarers deserve the best. The Indian women seafarers deserve the best. The Indian seafarers deserve the best. And I'm sure we as an industry are all there to support all the seafarers as we have been supporting them so far and will continue to do so. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavnani. And come to the last speaker, in the first session that we had, Mr. Rajachandran, the able seafarer deck, most likely. After going through the items that I noted, recognition for the seafarers, frontline workers, who changes during the pandemic, and the post-retirement benefit. And I can't find anybody more suitable than Mr. Abdul Ghani Sarang to respond to it, please.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here. अभी हमारे कल ही ये फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर्स का तो अभी एक दो थोड़े दिन में हो जाएगा, क्योंकि हमारे मंत्री जी आ गए एज अ हेल्थ मिनिस्टर. So Mr. Mandavia, since he's aware, so I think that should be, as an industry, we should not have any problem. For Mr. Mandavia to एक sign कर देंगे मंत्री जी front line workers, So, but it is still very challenging. Okay, on the issue about retirement benefits, let me very shortly mention that on the 11th January of this year, the Siemens Provident Fund Office has, in principle, the DG Shipping, the board has taken a decision to extend Provident Fund, gratuity and pension benefits to Indian flag and foreign flag for all ranks of seafarers. So this is the decision which has been taken in principle, or usko, and it is for all ranks of seafarers and for all flag, whether Indian or foreign flag. But it has to go to it will have to go through the process, and very soon, at least a strong beginning, you are in principle first time accept one. So in the years to come, I am very sure that the seafarers will also have that benefit. So I think my do cheez pe stop karunga, because this was a pointed question from Raja Chandran, so I just responded to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I think we come to the end of the first session. Over to you, Captain Mani, please.
Captain Mahesh Rai again. I
Yes,
think
sir.
there are two questions which were very relevant to today's situation. One was the criminalization of seafarers, and I think that Captain Sanger has raised that. And one was this too many regulations, international. I think we'll combine together and take them if anybody from Indian side also brings out those. Because
Yes, sir.
so I think we'll keep them pending. We are
Yeah.
not. I just want
Too
to
many,
say-
too many regulations, and the criminalization part we will come to this thing, because as it is, I think we are running quite some behind schedule.
I noticed that, but we still have those very critical,
Yes.
vital questions which are really hurting the industry at large.
Captain Mani,
Yes,
please.
Thank you very much, Captain Yadav, Mr. Rai. I think we've had a very fruitful views from our panelists, and I'm so happy to see that Captain Yadav, you have actually responded to each observation or raised by our sailing staff. So that's excellent. I know it takes a lot of writing down to cope up with when they are speaking. So thank you very much, Captain Yadav. Really appreciate this. To take things forward, we will now request a sailing fourth engineer, Mr. Aritrara Chakravarti, to please come up and speak.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, distinguished panelists, moderators, honored guests, fellow seafarers, and everyone joining in from home. We are already running late, so I'm just going to keep it very precise. I'm very honored to be a part of this discussion. It makes me feel, as a junior officer, it makes me feel very welcome in this profession, and it makes me feel heard. So it's a big deal to me. So thank you for having me. Firstly, I'd like to thank, I know there are a lot of problems going on, but I would like to thank my own company who have put in their efforts, their absolute best when it came to the COVID situation and for repatriation. Being in that situation on board a ship, I didn't even imagine that it would be so organized, but it was. But there are some grievances from other companies, from a few fellow seafarers, my batchmates, especially people on liner trades. Give like for a particular example, I'll give. There are ships. There's a friend of mine on a ship who's going from Mogadishu to Salalah, and since there is no scope of repatriation, he feels he's stuck there. He feels he's been abandoned, which I'm sure is not true. Okay. Second issue I would come to is, as a fourth engineer, so I have done 3 ships already, but there are people who are fresh off the boat, who just cleared their class 4s, and there is a rising concern about fourth engineers losing their job because they're removing the ranks from a few companies. It's an ongoing trend. I may be wrong, but that's what I've been hearing, that's what I've been seeing as well. There are people fresh off after class 4 who have been denied jobs as a fourth engineer, and they have nowhere to go because no one will take a fourth engineer who has no experience. So this is rising concern among us, at least maybe not for me because I've already done a few ships, but at least I've spoken to a few juniors of mine, and they are really worried about it. One more thing, this has nothing to do with ships or companies. It's so this time I came here primarily focused to give my class 2 examinations. There are, though we are moving towards the digital front now, everything is digital. We are having video conferences, all the courses are online, but there are a few courses which you have to be physically present. So I'm from Calcutta, I'm from West Bengal. And at least here, where situations are normalizing, where restaurants are reopening, where barber shops are reopening, our training institutes are closed. There is no communication between the training institutes and the states, because every time I call, they will have some information that as we don't know, please call later, please call a month later, 2 weeks later. There is no clear-cut communication. I do not know where the fault lies, whether it's state-wise or central. I really do not understand, but it is a very big inconvenience. It's almost like I'm at a stalemate and I cannot move forward. So I think I expressed what I had to say. Thank you for having me. Thank you for hearing me out. It really feels good to be here. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. It was really heartening to see some positive recognition of the shore industry. And I can see Captain Bhasin nodding. And he also appreciates that because he was one of the persons instrumental in getting things done, along with Dr. Bhavnani, from what I know. And thank you. We'll move ahead now. And may I request Mr. Mahesh Radhakrishnan to please take the stage. He is our sailing third engineer.
Okay, sir. Very good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank.
Can we see you, Mahesh?
Thanks.
No, he's.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Gagan sir, for giving an opportunity to talk 2-3 minutes on this. Not able to see, sir? Okay, sir, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Gagan sir, who has given me an opportunity to talk here in front of this panel. This is the first time I'm taking part in a webinar. And our chief guest and our moderators and panel members, all panel members, and all others who are present here, I'd like to thank you for giving me an opportunity. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mahesh. You're loud and clear.
Okay. Okay.
I think, Mr. Mahesh, there's something wrong with your connection. I can see you now, but I can't hear you.
Pointing out few points. Like first thing is regarding the wages. Many of them is actually not able to. So can you able to hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. So first thing regarding the wages, as you know, all the living cost has been increased now all around the world, and still our wages are less only. As you compared, you see, for last few years, there is no revision for our wages. As a experienced third engineer, you will be getting maximum $3,200 to $3,400. I think that revision part has to be come forward within a few time, because otherwise all the living costs, everything is increasing. So we also have to look at our family. The second thing is regarding the automation ships, which are coming up. So all the electronic parts, electrical parts, all there are a few improvements in the automation part. So we have required some training on the automation parts. As a third engineer, if I tell you, nowadays there is a trend going on, removing the people, like manning levels, they are reducing. Like people, electrical officer, electrotechnical officer is being removed now from many of the ships. So our third engineers having more pressure on that, because they have to take care of that job also, like ETO jobs that is already in head of third engineer. So I think he must get some like third engineer should get some good training part, basically in the electrical and electronics part. And you know the cost, in case of we are going for training ourselves, the training institutes are charging huge amount. Like,
Mr. Radhakrishnan, you
it's
have broken
beyond
again.
our limits. So I think our company is mission and field, and you have to like ETO that. So can you hear me? So can you hear me?
Can you repeat
Yeah.
after we lost you after you said that the training institutes are charging you a huge amount? Can you start from there?
Yeah, so that is what I was telling, like the companies has to give some training part on the automation part, on the electrical and electronics field, basically, so that we can do our concentrate our jobs, like electrical jobs, in case of a ETO is not there on board. That is the main issue we are facing now currently in the field. Okay. Then regarding this job opportunities, like as I told, the salary is been reducing for the junior officers. You can see the salary difference between a fourth engineer and a third engineer is only $300 to $400 maximum. That is why, because a lot of people are coming to the field, but as
Captain Manny, I think we can switch to the next speaker because it is the audio is very, very unpredictable.
having their own candidates, so be from them so you can switch over to that other guy. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk something. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Mahesh, Radhakrishnan, if you have still something more to say, you can always type it on the chat. And
No, sir, I was talking only 3 points that I have already mentioned regarding the wages, regarding the automation ships, and ETO replacement. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So may I now request our sailing second engineer, Ms. Nayari Nayan, to please take the stage.
Thank you for the introduction, Captain Manny. The mustache, the muscle, and so much man-like is what has always been a part of the maritime industry, and unfortunately, the biggest bump in the career of all those maritime women I am representing right now. A very warm good evening to all the esteemed guests present and viewers watching this webinar. It would look biased if we promoted you before so many others in the line was told to me, even in a company with 0 female second engineers. I wish they could elaborate for the years we were not even in the line. While in the others, especially as an engineer, many of my friends were given a rank on a trial basis. If she's okay, then fine. If not, let's give her back to Manning. Adding the pandemic scenario to this already pressurized situation would mean the room has got more and more congested for women seafarers. I am thankful that I joined as a 2E on promotion from Brazil and signed off from the same port after 6 months without any breaks at all. I performed because I had to. But this point is to voice for all those of my friends, female seafarers who still have to use a Mr. before their names to even get a call. Why and for how long? If a girl cannot open the indicator valves of a generator, sack her. But please don't penalize the other one on the basis of that prejudiced generalization. The other point that I would like to highlight, which I strongly feel about, is around the unemployment issues of a massive number of juniors and cadets. It's a menace out there, but can be fought together. A reference from an industry senior gives an edge to their selection process, we all know. However, on the other side, not being related to them or aware of their background, it becomes difficult for the seniors to endorse such candidates. Can there be a more simplified way we could refer them, keeping a balance for everyone's concerns? To conclude, I would only like to say that I was born in a society of inequalities, but I yearn to die in an equal one, and I will keep fighting to die like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nain. That was, I think, hit a lot of people's thinking right now. And thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being so candid about it. Yeah. So I look forward to Mr. Rai posing these questions to our panelists regarding what we have just stated. But before we do that, may I ask our sailing chief engineer, Mr. Vivek Sangal, to please take the stage now. Thank you. Mr. Vivek Sangal.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all. Am I audible to all?
Yes, you are.
My name is Vivek Sangal. I've been sailing from past 20 years now, which includes 8 years as chief engineer. I would like to bring up certain points which are affecting sailors, especially in the current circumstances of COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. One thing which I want to highlight is about the delayed relief. Okay, so shipping is one industry which has not stopped working because of this global crisis caused by COVID pandemic. At the same time, seamen continue to be hired without any pay cutbacks and other concessions. However, because of travel restrictions, have been enforced by several nations, the pandemic has had several impacts on the crew change in terms of delayed relief. India has taken an aggressive step in this area by permitting crew change at numerous ports, but it is not the case with all the countries. Some countries do not allow crew change, and in some countries, the standard operating procedure is just too much to follow. Okay, since seafarers are playing a critical role in the safe operation of the ships and are recognized as the key workers under the Indian law also, India, one of the biggest or one of the largest supplier of manpower to merchant shipping, I would like to say that on an international platform like IMO, can we raise our voice and we can ask them to come up with certain mandatory or standard guidelines for all countries to follow so that the crew change can take place in time. Okay. Another topic which I want to say is again related to COVID SOPs only. This is about the standard operating procedure, what has been followed by most of the shipping companies nowadays. Nowadays, if you want to join a ship, then you are made to do a lot of RT-PCR tests, and then the quarantine is also required so that you don't carry the virus to the ship and infect other people. But the problem is here that what about those who are coming to ships, the visitors? Okay, when the ship is in port, a lot of port officials, maybe terminal inspectors, loading masters, ship chandlers, service engineers, they are coming, but there are hardly any SOPs for them. Okay, none of the companies, they are hesitant to make a SOP. It is not insisted that a service engineer who is visiting the vessel, he should be having a RT-PCR or at least a declaration that he is not infected. So the decision which is to take COVID precaution, it is all left to the master and the crew on board. The third thing which I want to point out is about the just culture. Okay, we all say that shipping, we want just culture. That is a no blame culture. Nobody should be blamed for any fault which has happened or anything which goes wrong. But that is not the case, I believe. Okay, if something goes wrong and God forbids, if it leads to off hire and all, it is just made sure that you are punished, and especially the senior staff on board. And as very well said by Captain Sanger also, the commercial pressure nowadays is too high. Okay, because new rules and regulations are coming up each and every day, something new equipments are being fit. Like in past few years, if you see, the ships are fitted with ballast water treatment system. We have exhaust gas cleaning system, and now further the IMO is behind reducing the CO2 emissions from the ship. and we'll be soon having engines which are running on LNG fuel or LPG fuel, which is non-conventional. With these kind of things coming up and the same manpower which is there on board, or rather it is reducing, it becomes really hard for us to cope up. And the last thing which I would like to say is regarding some officers' welfare. Okay, so I know that MUI has been doing, or they have certain programs of medical benefits, but I believe that most of the seafarers are unaware of it. Okay, and as said by the A.B. Rajchandran, I would like to request that if MUI can come up with a certain welfare scheme which is related to the social security and the pension plans, if it is possible. Okay, that is all from my side, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sangal. That was well said and very, very clear in your thoughts and in your pointing out your concerns. Okay, may I request Mr. Rai now to take up the questions with and the viewpoints and solutions from our panelists. Over to you, Mr. Rai.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Mani. And I have noted down few observations or comments of the sailors or seafarers. So first was our fourth engineer, Mr. Arita Chakravarti. His question was more related to stranded seafarer and abandonment at sea. He also said that the training institutes are still closed and the young officers are suffering for their next job opportunities and this one, promotions, etc. So on this issue, I would, as far as training institutes are concerned, there, of course, I will only like to say that the safety and health has been the main concern of the Indian administration in particular. And while I'll reserve my comments, I know the Indian administration did try to open the institute, but they had to again close. But to comment about the stranded seafarers and issues like his colleagues not getting job opportunities, I will invite one of the management companies officers. Can I request Captain Shukla sir, can you speak, because you have a wider network internationally. So can you comment on those two aspects?
Do you want me to comment on criminalization of seafarers and?
No, not criminalization, about the this stranded seafarers and they are not getting job opportunities because of demanding jobs or employment opportunities are rather minimum.
No, I mean, you were talking about it from a fourth engineer's perspective, correct? How the fourth engineer spoke about it. Yes, it's rather unfortunate that
colleagues he was talking, he himself was not a sufferer, but he heard mostly about from his friends or his colleagues.
Yes. What has happened in the past is that as ships started getting UMS, the owners decided that since the ships were UMS, a fourth engineer's berth as per safe manning is actually not required. So firstly, I feel that it is the responsibility of any company that employs any individual as a junior engineer or a trainee marine engineer should take the responsibility also of giving them a berth of a fourth engineer. A lot of responsible companies, a lot of them who are sitting here on as panelists, have done that. They have gone out to their owners and said that, see, while it is very easy to create a talent pipeline on the deck side, because as per safe manning, if you have a third officer is compulsory. So every deck cadet that you have goes on to become a third officer. But what happens when you have junior engineers and you have no fourth engineer slots? How is the talent pipeline going to continue? Because you have junior engineers, you're not able to give them slot as fourth engineers. Then you have third engineers. So what are you doing? You're recruiting from the market, bringing third engineers in. So the talent pipeline, and we are happy to note, at least, I mean, with my personal experience, I know Captain Bhasin has done it from his company. I know Manish has done it in his company. We've gone out to owners and we've told them that, listen, this talent pipeline needs to be created if in the future we want to see that our own junior engineers, our chief engineers on board our ships, and a lot of owners have agreed. So it should be firstly, when a person is joining a company as a junior engineer, should understand what is the company like. Do they have this responsibility that, yes, you've been my junior engineer, you've been my trainee marine engineer, so that you have that job security, that when you come back with your license, you will subsequently get a 4th engineer's job. So that is very, very important. So what I can say is responsible managers, responsible owners are doing it. Yes, I know in the industry, I see a lot of 4th engineers applying to us, but as responsible companies, we've got our own 4th engineer for whom we've got our own trainee marine engineers and junior engineers for whom we've got the slots. So I think it is important that before a person joins any company as a junior engineer, sees what the background of the company is, how their performance with the talent pipeline of 4th engineers, 3rd engineers and all subsequently goes on to become.
Thank you so much, Captain Sankla. I know we are running short of time, so I'll be a little quick on this. 3rd engineer, Mr. Mahesh Radhakrishnan, also raised some issue. One was about the wages not being revised, but this I think probably is not updated. We have MUI, Mr. Amar Singh Thakur and INSA Shri Devli here, and I believe INSA MUI agreement has recently been revised. So Mr. Amar Singh Thakur or the Devli sir, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, we have already revised the wages. Agreement has been done and booklet is going to be printed. So within 10 to 15 days, the new agreement will be implemented. But it is already signed.
Yeah, that's what I thought so. Devli sir, would you like to say anything about the status of the wages from the ship owner's perspective? Devli sir.
Thank you, Rai Sahab. When this issue came up about that I'm getting only so much wage and etc., I realized that I'm a non-mariner amongst mariners. So what I'm going to say, probably all of y'all, if you can reach out of the laptop, may want to give me what we call in Mumbai a tapli. But how many times do you think ashore our wages keep on increasing? How many people really think that our wages? Let me ask Captain Shukla, Captain Bhasin, Rai Saab. Let me ask Mr. Abdul Ghani. How many times our salaries are increasing ashore? I think this is a fact of life. Nobody's salary increases, like it is, a season. That just like rain will follow, doesn't mean that your salaries will go on increasing. So my first thing is that as individuals, I never expect that my salary will increase just by default. Ek saal ho gaya. My salary should increase that if my employer thinks I have done something good for him. So this is my first point, and I must now add a caveat. I don't speak on behalf of INSA. This is my personal view. I consider myself a part of this industry, and therefore I am being candid. Now, speaking on behalf of owners, I think
आपका इंसा में यूनियन नहीं है ना, यूनियन बना आपका सैलरी अभी बढ़ेगा आपके इंसा के अंदर. अभी मैं आता हूँ कल 2-3 दिन में, अपन यूनियन बनाते इंसा में, then we'll go to the president इंसा. आपका सैलरी जरूर बढ़ेगा.
आपके मेहरबानी से बढ़ जाएगा सर.
हाँ, बढ़ाएंगे इंसा के लिए यूनियन बनाएंगे.
So that is why. So see, there's no need of getting upset. I'm only coming.
अपसेट नहीं बाबा, ये अपना स्टाइल है बोलने का. हम यूनियन वाला लोग है ना, ठीक है. यूनियन बनाओ, सैलरी बराबर बढ़ेगा आपका.
So the point that I'm making is that as far as wages are concerned, you have just now you have seen a belligerent union leader just now talking about what wages should be. So with somebody around like him, why does somebody feel that wages are still low? I think Abdul Ghani intervened at the perfect time, because when we have such a aware leader who stands on behalf of all the seafarers, I don't think there is a case made out that the wages are lesser. And maybe Mr. Abdul Ghani can answer whether the wages are lesser or not. In my opinion,
Devli साहब, the point was it is not lesser. वो बोला बड़ा नहीं है. Human nature है ना, सब चीज बढ़ने का. They are not saying less. They बड़ा नहीं है both times से. But on the Indian flag we have already increased. Okay, as we signed the agreement with you only, and on the foreign flag it is in work in progress as far as the foreign flag is concerned. But Indian flag का बढ़ गया. I mean salary we have already.
परसेंटेज बढ़ गया वो भी बताओ ना.
हाँ.
कितना परसेंटेज बढ़ा है वो भी बताओ.
हाँ वो बड़ा है. अच्छा और बढ़ना चाहता था इंडियन फ्लैग में, मगर कुछ in the 3 years it is around 35% in 3 years.
Yeah, and anyway, Abdul Ghani sir, I was only trying to see that there is an agreement which has been done and wages have been increased, and this has been a mutual agreement between the two parties. So I will go with what Mr. Abdul Thakur and Shri Devli Sahab has said. It is being revised at a periodic interval with mutual discussion and consent. So this is the way the shore industry is working. I also been a sailor myself, so I know that our wages were increased periodical interval. But I agree with Mr. Devli as well. कि shore-based industry में ऐसा कोई agreement नहीं है. Of course, there is a annual in the government job, but if you are working in any private organization, there is no fixed rule regulation about increase of shore staff people. So I will go with what Mr. Devli as well said. So thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you. But that was one of the very
Thank you very much.
So anything further you would like to say, sir? Devli sir, you would like to say anything further?
No, sir. I think that is the point, that there are wage agreements. These wage agreements keep taking place, and it has to work on both the sides. It has to. One cannot keep everybody happy, sir. Finally, at the end of the day,
That's what I said there. After the mutual discussions of months together, and both parties agrees, come to a consensus and come to a common agreement. So that is what the wages are. Another thing which Mr. Mahesh Radhakrishnan very rightly raised was about autonomous ships. I think I will keep that also in abeyance for the time being, because autonomous ships have taken grounds, but unka training ke liye kya karna chahiye and how the training institutes will take that further. I think let us wait and watch, because
sir, I'm sorry, can I interrupt on this point? Personally, again, as a non-mariner, I've always had a question: why does India support autonomous ships? If I am one of the largest supplier of seafarers, shouldn't I be logically? It beats me as to why we propose non-autonomous ships. Our ships should be such, or our effort should be such, that more and more seafarers will get employment. Isn't that what? At least that is the way I was brought up. So why do we support autonomous? This is a question that I have never understood, sir. Thank you.
Devli sir, I think I will talk to you differently from the perspective of the ship owners, and you are representing them. कि autonomous ships के अंदर आपकी cargo space बढ़ जाती हैं, खर्चे कम हो जाते हैं. The most of the ship owners, pardon my saying, I have not spoken to any owner, but I know for sure they all are in support of the autonomous ship for their own personal benefit. But our minister, Mr. Mandavia, before he laid down his office, did mention that autonomous ships doesn't imply that the employment of seafarers will reduce. On the contrary, he did mention in one of the addresses that probably the number of seafarers will increase ashore. So there will be no cut down, though we'll have to see in actual life what it happens. So I believe that autonomous ships is still a far-fetched thing, but yes, it is a very thing of the future. And as I said, ship owners, most of ship owners we spoke globally, and particularly in the European Union, they all are going for autonomous ships because it helps their cargo transportation and freight. Of course, India being labor-oriented, we look for employment. So yes, our industry will have to take another call on that. As far as the institutes charging too much, etc., and all that, that is, depend on institute. I leave that, Mr. Mahesh. Any further, if you have clarification required, please put it on the chat box and we'll come back to you. Now coming to Miss Nari Nan, her issue is about preference to the women. I may assure you that the Indian shipping in particular has been very supportive of not only training, but giving employment to the women seafarer. Recently, we did celebrate India made a history itself when one of the product tankers of Shipping Corporation, Shwaram Krishna, was manned only by women officers. So that's a remarkable credit to you people, women empowerment. I also heard one of the speakers saying that many women engineers today are working ashore, including as a surveyors and including as commercial officers or even as a superintendent. So they have a very remarkable, jobs in their hand, and they're doing excellently or exceedingly good work. So we industry has no doubt at all. And again, I will mention few companies like Tolani Institute or Maritime Institute or private MSc, etc. They all are giving preference to the women. So I really would like to know if any women in particular were denied a job because of any gender discrimination. So gender discrimination is totally ruled out. And if any issue like that, please come forward and raise that issue. And I really do not know whether what you said that you have to use Mr. before your name to get employment. I still would like to know. I may request one of the management company head if they can throw a light on this. Mr. Pradhan.
That Mr. was not for me. That is one of my friends I know. So a lot of times, she got a call because she had a Mr. before her name. But when the company got to know that she's a female seafarer, they said that, oh, we didn't know that you are a girl. So things like these have happened. So basically, what I wanted to highlight here is not just on the employment front. Now it needs to reach further on the empowerment front. It's not just about hiring them on a very initial level, and then on every scale there is so much of hurdle on board, on shore, that if we don't promote them, because we have so many hassles going on together with our professional life. So it's just that, if Indian companies or wherever Indian female seafarers are being hired, so if we could understand the background from where we have come up to this level. So there are so many hurdles, and if somebody tells you that, we can't promote you, that we have so many other seafarers who are more experienced, we need to promote them. But then you need to understand that you have only 2 female second engineers or maybe 1 female chief engineer. How can it look biased if you promote a third one?
Anyway, Ms. Man, I will agree with you. There have been a lot of reservation earlier on, but in last few years, I can only assure you that most of the shipping companies are really looking positively into this. And I'm also happy to report that number of women seafarers have increased substantially in last few years. And I'm sure I met you last when you were a 4th engineer. I'm happy that today you are a 2nd engineer, and soon I wish you will be a chief engineer soon. So wish you all the best, but please be rest assured that the Indian maritime industry is not there for any gender discrimination, and we will like to have more women coming here. And as I mentioned, a few other training companies or the training institutes, they are actually encouraging more and more women to come. A lot of incentives are given, even in form of scholarship, etc., and even giving some preferential, training or personal interactions, etc. So be rest assured that we all are here to encourage the women empowerment.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Vivek, as a chief engineer, you have raised several issues. Delayed relief due pandemic was a major issue, and almost all management companies did take up. Many initiatives were taken. So I will, before I summarize, Captain Bashir, you can brief on this, that how this delayed relief was sorted out with those bubble ships and taking up with the government about arranging, but there were some international restrictions. Many countries were not allowing that seafarers without any vaccination, etc., should be allowed to sign on or sign out. That is still lingering. So, Captain Bhasin, will you comment on that?
Thank you, Rai sir. Really very well put point by all the chief engineer, second engineer, third engineer, fourth engineer. Mr. Sengal points, coming back to the relief, yes, we went through a horrific time last year. And as I speak, all of us here, the thing from FOSMA, from MASA, from INSA, we all got together and they started a bubble chartered flights. And let me tell you, we were the first one in the world. And because the release were getting delayed to a long period, and there was the countries were not allowing, everybody knows the people who were sailing on board, they themselves were very, very cooperative. If in those days, no matter what we had done, but the main credit goes to our seafarers. They were asking relief, but they knew what everybody is going through. And the thing which started here with a lot of help from our DG Shipping and the minister at that time, that they allowed a chartered flights operating. There was a FOSMA MASA flight, there was special company in own chartered flights. We started taking the people out from the country to a designated airport. From there, they were going to the other flight, and same way they were bringing back. And it took a lot of persuasion, a lot of work from everybody involved. So it is a collective team which made it possible. Having said that, so the problem is not over. I would like to today, like speaking here, problem of that time and the problem of today is entirely different. Today, a lot of restrictions have come, especially in the last month and a half or two, that the Indians have been stopped from traveling. A lot of ports have put up various restrictions. They will not allow the flights coming to their own countries. Something which is work in progress. You won't believe that every week there are 2 or 3 meetings among the industry that we reach out to this country, to the Indian ambassador, or to the external affairs minister, to the DG Shipping. It is a continuous effort, continuous. Some places we are successful, but many places we are not. It is like own country's jurisdiction. They say, yes, you can come. They say, no, you cannot come. Even I also must tell the unions here, like MUI and NUSI, they have been also very supportive in the whole industry. So just to convey, it is work in progress, and some places we have got the mandate to get the seafarers relief, Indian seafarers, or the other, some places not.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Bhasin. Of course, there were some minor issues which probably Mr. Vivek will need to update himself. I just wanted the standard operating procedures are there for any engineer or technician board a ship. So probably please update. They also need to go through all those requirements, and nobody without the approval can board a ship going through the COVID test, etc. So that is
that was a very good question from him. Very good question. Because you see, the seafarers are going on board. All our companies, they are doing their 2 to 3 tests. At least not only RT-PCR test, many companies have started IgM, IgG test for the safety of their people on board. So very correct question that Mr. Sengal asked, that when the technician is coming, at least he should also follow RT-PCR test or some kind of a letter that he is not COVID. And I think all responsible companies should do it. That's all I can answer here. And most of them are doing it. I must say that also.
Captain Bhasin, to my knowledge, even ports today are insisting that they should have those tests before board a ship.
That is correct, sir. Thank you for adding that. That is correct. Not only that, even the major ports, their own workers, they have been doing a regular phase COVID test for the stevedores also.
Every 15 days, yes.
Okay.
Now I will request Captain Yadav also to join with me, because Chief Engineer Mr. Vivek has also raised one question of blame culture. And in the last few months, I have also seen a lot of blame and criminalization, particularly post this Suez, that blockade of this vessel and Evergreen, etc. So what needs to be done? I mean, this is a very serious matter, and I would like to support all seafarers as well. Okay, with pilot on board, if something goes wrong or something bad, and still to hold the master responsible just on the grounds that master is in command and pilot is only there for advice.
Captain Rai, may I step in here? Number one, nobody was criminalized in the Ever Given case. Ever Given sailed out yesterday. Nobody was criminalized in that case.
No, criminalization was the wrong word there. I only said that most of the blame was being, I said the issue with Chief Engineer Mr. Vivek is no blame culture. He said the number of responsibility and the media all were blaming the captain. So that was my issue. It's not only criminalization is of course a totally different segment, and I again will not like to go into details, but I do know there have been several instances, and we have our masters still being held in prison, etc., in forts abroad. And because of whether right or wrong, I will not debate because they all are subjudicial today. But yes, the fear among the seafarers today, and talking about engineers, I know chief engineer sleeping in a room and a fifth engineer goes and pumps out engine room bilges and there is a pollution. It is always the master and chief engineer who was held responsible. So that's a very sensitive issue. And as I said, there are two issues which were pending from even Captain Sanger has raised. Was one with the commercial pressure and one was another too many regulations. I'm sure most of us, including me, we are part of the group who are advising the Director General of Shipping and the IMO regulations, etc. But every year, new and new regulations are coming, and things are going to be more challenging. I wouldn't say difficult only, but they are going to be challenging. So I really do not know who will like to take on that issue. Dr. Sanjay Bhavnani, would you like to say something about the number of regulations, sir?
Yes, yes. I think we have to recognize that more a complex industry. There is an heightened level of expectation from the stakeholders. They want that, things should be more and more compliant. The companies which are going to be chartering the vessels need to demonstrate that they have taken all care and the due diligence which is required. And of course, it becomes very, very critical to ensure that all the regulations which are there are going to be followed at all times. Now, this is, of course, how, it's a debatable point whether it's really leading to the desired result or not. But I think it is something which is affecting both the shore side and the ship side equally. It's very critical to understand here that the industry demands, the industry requirements are continuously changing. If you look at the last 15 to 20 years or even more than that, we find there has been a sea change in the entire way the industry has functioned and was functioning before. And even in the next 10 years, things are going to be completely different. This is a part of a continuous change. This is a part of the evolution. This is a part of the way in which we have to keep on responding to the various demands which are being imposed. It is best and it is wise that we understand how we can do it in the best possible way and try and find out ways and means possible to develop mechanisms so that we are able to take care of them in the most effective manner. I mean, however much we may like it or we may not like it, at the end of the day, we have no other option but to comply with it. And this affects not only the seafarer, it affects the ship, the people on the shore side, it affects the ship owners, it affects all the other segments of the maritime industry which is there today. Thank you.
I agree with you, Dr. Bhavnani, and that's what the very theme of this webinar was, that how the sea and shore people should get connected. And that is what I said, that whenever these issues, whether there are more regulations or there are more problems or no wages, I think both people have to work in unison as a team. That old concept that seafarers are different and people in office are different. As a matter of fact, to best of my knowledge, 70 to 80% of the people who are today working in the shore office of a shipping company are themselves seafarers. So it is only the seniors or the current lot who are at sea who are working in their office and they're basically their colleague. So I'm sure in the days to come, see and shore people will have to work as a team and as a cohesive unit. So today's webinar, I'm sure, will help in that direction. I think Captain Abdul Ghani has raised his hand and he wanted to add something.
Thank you. मैं कैप्टन तो नहीं हूँ, मगर फिर भी मैं इसी as a takeaway of this webinar, because we need to have some takeaway. मेरे तरफ से मैं एक suggest करना चाहता हूँ 2 points, because I was very much the Captain Bharat when he mentioned his points and they were worth काफी उनके ऊपर जो सभी seafarers पे जो बीतती as far as the paperwork is concerned. Can we not have a group? Because there has to be a takeaway from this webinar, and when we come out of this webinar, we should have at least कि भाई हमने ये webinar क्या ये एक निचोड़ ये हो सकता है, a group, a committee to look into reduction of paperwork and the issues about rest hours. At least a minimum as an Indian group, it can be with foreign ship owners, Indian ship owners union milke a group can discuss it and give our findings to the Maritime Administration, or at least within us in a code of good practice as a group. It is not binding or mandatory, but at least एक सुझाव हो सकता है, reduction of paperwork, and because there is a lot of falsification of rest hours also. I am again going back to what Captain Bharat had mentioned. The group should discuss amongst ourselves and give our findings for the larger audience to follow, as a code of good practice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Abdul Ghani Sarang. I think we have already overshot our time, what was prescribed. So I will now tell Captain Mani, can you please take over and look what we can conclude, or would you like to discuss further? Captain Mani, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rai. Before we do that, we have our chief guest, Captain Pasi, to sum up this seminar and his thoughts. He has spent a lot of time dealing with the seafarers in his various capacities, and I really look forward to hearing him on what he has seen and heard in this webinar. Captain Pasi, please.
Thank you, Sanjay. First of all, it's an honor to be here with you today and listening in. Now, the specifics of so many questions that were raised or so many points that were raised have already been answered very ably by the panelists and also by Abdul Ghani ji and Amar Singh ji. Looking at it holistically, somehow, it comes across that there's a lot of, not bitterness, but there's a lot of, grief that seafarers are facing in the sort of big picture sense of the word. Now, let me assure you, seafarers, that this has been going on from time immemorial, that we have felt the grief, but there is also the positives of it. What happens is that even if you wear a very nice, white, crisp new shirt, and there is a small dot or a speck on your shirt, that's all you see. Is that the spot or the speck? You don't see the white cleanliness of the thing. Let me tell you here today, in the last year and a half or 2 years since the COVID thing started, I have been witness to the way that your shore management, your people, your company heads, your unions have been fighting and going that extra mile, forget extra mile, going the whole damn 9 yards to make sure that you, as the most prized, people in this industry, are taken care of. I know how many midnight lamps have been burnt. I know how people sitting in this room have been, making arrangements for flights. We have been personally going and, talking to the ministries, the ministers. Amar Singh has been going with Abdul Ghani ji, along with Mahinder, and so many. I mean, I can't name individuals, but there has been so much of progress and work that has been done on the really important things. Yes, I know the food is not really good somewhere. I'm not, I have to have a long, waiting period before I get a ship. Those issues they've been there for years. They are going to be there. But the big picture is that your
management, your shore side, please be assured they are supporting you and you are in their mind all the time. Other issues that came up were about, the gender issue. And Ms. Mann, that there is a lot of work to be done. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. The best way to look at this is it's not perhaps a very good perspective, but the way to look at it is, what did we have 5 years ago and what do we have today? We've come a long way. We haven't done enough, that's for sure. But there has been a lot of input that's gone into making this a fairer world. And to use your own words, you said, you would like to go from, well, when we ever go up over there, you'd like to go and see that it's an equal world. I don't know if that's ever going to happen in the near future or in our lifetimes, but we are making that progress to sort of take it forward. Guys, the only way that we can, make this whole industry go forward is if all of us are working on it together. It cannot be us versus them. It cannot be shore versus, ships management. It's got to be inclusive work, inclusive living. Seafarers never have the feeling that people sitting ashore forget what the vital role and thing that you are playing over there when you go on board the ships. And similarly, management, please listen to what the seafarers are saying. Please understand their grief. What to us is just a small thing, to them is a big thing. And I know that most of us over here are with manning companies and we don't have much, say in the actual policy management part. But you need to take up the cause of your offices with your senior management ashore, with your boards, and only then, when the unions, when the seafarers and management come together, are we going to have, what we call the ideal world. So it will happen, it can happen, but it takes all of us, and it takes two hands to clap. It takes all of us to come together and make sure that this is done. Gagan, well done. This has been a fantastic webinar, and I think you've hit it on the right spot. I think you brought people over here. I mean, look around you. You've got a whole, a plethora of really good experts who actually have done some intelligent talking. And I think that, as Abdul Ghani said, we need to have a takeaway from here. Some of the takeaways are that, yes, we need to look into the paperwork issue. It's been, it's been a sort of thing in the thorn in the side for many, many years now. But if we have a team, as he says, who comes together and puts in the thoughts, it will work. And that team has to be represented more by active sailing seafarers. Us old fogies sitting with white hair over here are not the solution to that, because we need to involve the people who are actually there, who are real time facing this grief over there. What can we do about it? What is the solution? Yes, we know the problems, we know the grief, but what is the solution and how are we going to solve it? Once again, thank you for having me, and great to see that we are progressing towards, a unified approach and a unified system. And I hope that over the next few years, we will all be able to, have a better tomorrow. And Nyari, I hope that in particular for the women, we have a fairer world and a better tomorrow too. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain Pasi. As always, it's very, very good to hear from you. Good to have you in a meeting. You bring life to a gathering. And I can say that from very personal experiences with you. So we have overshot our time by at least an hour. And it has been a very enlightening discussion. Though I can see from the chat that that some people thought we were digressing from the topic. I don't think we were digressing. I think Gagan has made a start. And I think we need to have series of such webinars, or hopefully seminars, where we can all actually see each other and have, a drink together after the seminar. And, but you have started the ball rolling, Gagan, and I know that the objective of this theme will take a long time to be met, but a start has been made today. I know it takes a lot of effort to organize a webinar or a seminar. And from what I have known of Gagan Pandey, he puts in a lot of thought into the theme. And then he carries it through. So you have a lot of material today. I know you're recording this session. You have a lot of material to put forward that paper. And I think all the relevant observations or concerns of the sailing staff should be sent to each company that you know, or through FOSMA and MASA, and take their feedback and then publish that paper as to the solution so that the objective of this theme is met. I'm sure you will do that. And thank you so much for your initiative. And we hope to see more of these result-oriented seminars. I would like to thank the sailing staff for having taken the time to participate in this goal-oriented webinar. I thought that each of the speakers brought a very fresh perspective in some of their points to the whole theme. And one thing Captain Pasi has said that, Mr. Sarang has said that, Captain Bhasin has said that, Dr. Bhavnani has said that, and I would like to reiterate. We are very proud of you. We are very proud of what you do. And you, by your efforts, have kept the sanity of this world during this pandemic. I hope the entire world will one day come together to celebrate your profession. And what you mean, through your profession, what you mean to the survival of mankind. I hope you know who you are and how important you are to this world. So thank you, each and every one of you who have spoken their mind today. Thank you for coming forward. And I hope that you continue to come forward and bring about questions and concerns which other people around you who are supporting you from shore can address. So thank you for being here. Our esteemed panelists were very clear and lucid in their thoughts. I could also see that no sides were being taken. They were giving a perspective, not from their shore side, but they were also giving their perspective from being an ex-seafarer themselves. So that was a very good thing that I saw. Thank you so much. You, all the panelists here, I found one thing in common, that they had a very important maritime association in India. I know that through their efforts, today, Indian initiative during the pandemic is recognized as the best response. I know that for sure, sitting where I am. So thank you all for being part of this seminar, panelists, and I'm sure that you will continue to take the Indian maritime industry to greater heights and bring a positive light to the maritime industry. Our moderators for this event are men of deep understanding of the maritime industry and have been instrumental in strengthening the Indian maritime sector. As expected, they did a wonderful job by keeping track of each observation that was being raised by the sailing staff and having each one of them addressed. I mean, I thought that was marvelous. Normally, people overlook certain points, but Captain Yadav and Mr. Rai gave so much attention to each point and got it addressed and answered, or got at least a view from the panelists. I think that was something very good. Thank you, sirs, for sharing your valuable time. No seminar can be complete without the audience. Due to the paucity of time, I'm very sorry that we could not have a question and answer session, but this thing is being recorded and I've seen the chat, and your chat also gets recorded. And I'm sure Gagan will analyze each observation and take it forward. So thank you, audience, for being here. And that brings an end to this wonderful evening. And I hope one day we will meet the objective and we will be one. I think we already are, but even that slightest doubt will be removed very soon. So thank you. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend coming up. Enjoy the monsoons and Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you very much.